today's video, we are going to talk about data lake. We're going to cover what is a data lake versus data warehouse, gotchas of data lake, ETL versus ELT, and cloud provider data lake solutions. So what is a data lake? Data lake is a central repository that holds big data from many sources. Generally, the data can be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. The idea is to ingest data as quickly as possible and make it available or accessible to other team members like data scientists, data analysts, data engineers. Data lake is being used extensively for machine learning as well as analytical solutions. Generally, when you are storing data into your data lake, you would associate some sort of metadata for faster access. A data lake solution generally has to be secure and can scale. The idea also consists that the hardware should be inexpensive. The reason being that you want to store as much of data as quickly as possible. So let's look into what is a data lake versus data warehouse. Generally, a data lake is an unstructured data. The target users are data scientists or data analysts. It stores huge amount of data, sometimes in the size of petabytes. And I've also seen data coming in every day in terabytes. The use cases which are covered by data lake are basically stream processing, machine learning, and real-time analytics. On the data warehouse side, the data is generally structured. The users are business analysts. The data size is generally small. And the use case consists of batch processing or BI reporting. It begs the question that how did it all started? How did data lake came into the picture when everybody was working happily with data warehouses? Companies very soon realized the value of data. Many companies have developed projects and products which are totally revolving around data, and they have made huge amount of revenues based upon that. The idea also consists that we want to store and access the data quickly. We do not want to wait for teams to develop a structure of a data, to develop relationships, and then the data being useful. The idea is to store the data as quickly as possible and make it useful for other team members or other parts of the company. Generally, it was also realized that the data is not really useful when the project starts, but later in the project lifecycle. So it became important to store the data as soon as possible. We have also seen an increase in data scientists and R&D products. Obviously, this all came down to storing this data as cheaply as possible. And these are one of the few reasons why data lake came into the picture. Next, let's talk about ETL versus ELT. ETL stands for export, transform, and load, whereas ELT stands for export, load, and transform. ETL is mainly used for small amount of data, whereas ELT is used for large amounts of data. This is a very typical example of data warehouse versus data lake. ETL is a data warehouse solution, whereas ELT is a data lake solution. The idea of an ETL is schema on write, that you define a well-defined schema, you define the relationships, and then you write the data. Where ELT is based upon schema on read, where you write the data first and determine the schema on the read. Next, let's look on some of the gotchas of data lake. It's well known that data lake starts with a good intention, but soon converts into a data swamp, which makes it very hard to be useful by data scientists or analysts. Some of the reasons that a data lake converts into a data swamp is that there is generally no versioning. There is incompatible schemas for the same data without versioning. So for example, today you are writing trip data using Avro, and tomorrow in the same path, in the same folder, you are writing data as Parquet. This will make it very hard for the consumers to consume this data. And that's why the whole data set becomes useless. Generally, if you do not associate any metadata to your data, it becomes really hard for a person or a data scientist to use your data to figure out what's the usefulness for the data for the project. Generally, data lake also becomes useless when there is not a possibility to join different data sets. Generally, that becomes because there is no foreign key available or there is no other possibility to join different data sets. Cloud provider provides different kind of data lake solutions. In Google Cloud Platform, it's cloud storage. In AWS, it's S3. And in Azure, it's Azure Blob.